All right, so for example 1, it says for triangle ABC, find A if the measure of angle A is 52, C is 7, and B is 4. Sometimes you have to figure out whether you want to use law of cosines or law of sines. Notice this doesn't necessarily tell you, even though we're on a law of cosines sheet. So what we want to do in order to figure out whether we're using law of sines or law of cosines is remember when we were using law of sines, we always had a matching pair. We had an A and an angle A, or a B and an angle B. And they're both like numbers. Like A was 38 degrees, side A was 15 or something, Here for law of cosines, everything given to you has a different variable. So if you notice here, I have A, I have C, and I have B. All of those are different from each other. I don't have an A and an A or a B and a B. So because they're all different, that's when we're going to be using law of cosines. And actually, let me write that out. So up here, we're going to be using law of sines if we have a matching pair. So matching pair. For example, angle A equals 38 degrees, side A equals 7, and maybe you'll have a B equals 5 or something like that. That's going to be your law of sines. Oops, I didn't mean to cross that out. That's going to be your law of sines. Now, law of cosines is if we have everything different. So law of cosines is if we have like an angle A equals 38 degrees, B equals 15, and like a C equals 7 or something. All those are different. That's law of cosines. So we have law of cosines here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to always go with the angle I'm given or I want to find. So I'm given angle A, so that means I'm going to have my angle A as a bookend and side A as a bookend. I don't know what my side A is, so that's going to stay my variable, equals our two other sides, so 4 squared plus 7 squared, and these don't matter the order. I could have did 7 and 4, minus 2, it's always going to be a 2 there, and then again, those two sides I just put 4 and 7, cosine of my angle, 52. That's going to be my setup. Now, what I like to do is I like to go in sections. So I have 3 different sections here. So my first section is this one over here. Then I have a second section right here and a third section right here. Okay. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do different colors. This way it's even more clear. There we go. So we'll do first section. Oh my goodness. That's not a highlighter. All right. First section, second section is yellow, and then we have our third section right here. So first section is just going to stay A squared. Next section, I'm going to do 4 squared plus 7 squared. And again, you can always use your calculator for help. So 4 squared I know is 16, or I can just enter it in. Plus 7 squared, which is 49. So I get 65 for both of those added together. So 65 minus, and then I have 2 times 4 times 7. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 7 is 56. I still have cosine of 52. Now I'm going to write those out into my calculator. So I'm going to do 65 minus 56 cos 52, and that's going to be 30.5. So, and then actually, if you wanted to, because I had everything over here, there was no variables over here, I could also just punch that all into a calculator. So I could do 4 squared plus 7 squared minus 2 times 4 times 7. Where are my parentheses here? 2 times 4 times 7 cosine of 52. And notice how we get the same thing. Then I still got a squared equals 30.5. So that's not my final answer. Instead, I want to get rid of that squared. So I'm going to square root. And then I'm going to take the square root of 30.5 is my final answer. So square root of 30.5 is going to be 5.5. So A equals 5.5 as our final answer. And then B is going to be the same thing. So for triangle ABC, find A if angle A is 52. So let's draw this out. Angle A is 52 degrees. B and C. So they said the side opposite of C measures 15, so that's going to be over here. And the side opposite of B measures 12. So again, I'm given angle A, so when I'm going to set this up, I'm going to have my A squared as my bookend, equals my two other sides, 12 squared plus 15 squared, minus 2 times 12 times 15 times cosine of my angle, which is 52. And again, I could just enter all that into my calculator in one go. So I grab my calculator, and then we're going to have 12 squared plus 15 squared minus 2 times 12 times 15 times 12 times 15 cosine of 52. And we get 5.5 right there. Oh, hang on. There we go. Gotta fix it. I had too many parentheses going on. Okay, so I get 147.4. That's a big difference. So 147.4, A squared equals 147.4. Then I'm going to square root. And I'm left with A equals the square root of 147.4. And that's going to be 12.1. So 12.1 is our final answer there.